Hey, my friends, this is Bill McDonald, the reading and writing doctor. Welcome to SWAG, Sentence Writing Across Grades, and Capitalization for Editing webinar. For those of you who are doing SWAG, we have this video about writing sentences, and I'll do a couple with you on subject writing across grades. And for those of you who are in the editing, we're going to make it through all of the capitalization rules. Then we'll go into punctuation and usage. So we have a ways to go on that one for anybody who still would like to get involved. We just started our revising webinar, combining reading objectives with revising. That first one will be this weekend. In fact, I'll be posting the first one for you who purchased it this evening. This one is going to be sentence writing across grades, depending on age and ability, and also two capitalization rules: the pronoun I, used in different positions in a sentence, along with capitalizing the first word in a sentence regardless of how long it is. Now, in order to make grammar and writing a little bit more interesting, I'm going to slide over here to my notebook that is in graph form, which I highly recommend for those of you who have students who are messy writers. Let me show you what it looks like on the cover. It says composition, but it's quad ruled, 5-inch by 5-inch, 80 sheets, 100 pages. And so I recommend this more than the composition folders, unless you're just using the composition notebooks for the kids to take notes and do coloring and little mini anchor charts. If you're teaching actual sentence writing, letters and paragraphs for kids who struggle with neatness, I suggest you use this one. And let me show you. It forces your students to keep all of their letters inside one little box, to put one space between words, and you'll see a little bit later to put two spaces between sentences or between ideas. There's actually four games we're going to play in today's video. The first one is called Capital, around the capital words in 80 capital ways. You can find that on page 269 of the binder for all of you, thousands and thousands of you who have purchased the digital or hard copy. Capital Deal with Capital It, that's using cards, making sentences of different lengths depending on what card in the deck you get, from ace to king, including the joker, which is wild. Capital Let apostrophe S, capital roll exclamation point. That's going to be using dice from 1 to 3 dice, depending on what grade levels you work with or what ages or ability. And the last one, also on page 279, is capital Take a capital number exclamation. And this can be done with either dominoes, where you write combinations of sentences. Like if you have a 6 and a 4 on the domino, you have to write two sentences that relate to each other, one with 6 words and another with 4 words. Or there's also those little cheap magnetic numbers you can get at a toy store or at Dollar Tree, and they have the numbers 0 through 9. And you could also tell them that you're going to add a 1 to the front of one of the numbers. That way some of the higher ability kids can make a sentence with anywhere between 10 and 19 words. So the first rule, the pronoun I used in different positions in a sentence, is because too many kids like to start with the word I. And so, as you can see here on this first one, the mariachi method is when too many kids want to write every single sentence with the word I. I like to start with I all the time. So we're going to teach the pronoun I two different ways, one on this page. For those of you who ordered the uh, swag and editing webinars, you should have received a PDF of these. There's like 25 sheets of different capitalization rules, and they're not in the binder, so you won't get this unless you're ordering swag or the editing or the revising binder. So there's a saying that I like to say is my age or more will get a good score. My age or more in word per sentence is what I'm talking about here. And when people ask me, do you mean their actual age or their ability age? And that's a great question because you might be a 6-year-old functioning on a 10-year-old ability level. So I would ask that student for 10 words per sentence. Or if you're a 10-year-old functioning on a 5 or 6-year-old ability level, then I would only ask 5 or 6 words from that child. So there's a sentence here, starting with the pronoun I, capital pronoun I, capital I eat 3 delicious waffles every morning after I wake up, period. Starting with the pronoun I. So around the words in 80 ways is you change the order of the words with different parts of speech, but you don't change the content or the meaning. So let's start with an adjective. Capital 3 delicious waffles are what I eat every morning after I wake up in the morning. So since you wrote the sentence in a different order, what I'm going to show you here is that sometimes the students repeat themselves. So you can say, since you already have in every morning, you don't need to put the morning. You can say, 3 delicious waffles are what I eat every morning after I wake up, period. Because every time you're looking at a sentence, you want to revise it for repetition or for a run-on or a fragment. And so, yes, this could be correct, but you don't want repetition, so you would put a period here and cross off the rest, okay? If you decided to start with the adjective delicious, it might be delicious waffles are what I eat every morning, comma, and there are usually 3 of them, period. I had to add a couple of words in there to make sure that I had the number 3, that I didn't lose that content, but I started with a different adjective. Instead of the number, I started with the describing word. Let's start with the noun, shall we? The I is still there, but it's in a different position. Capital waffles are delicious, comma, independent clause followed by a comma and a fan voice. And capital I eat 3 of them every morning after a capital I wake up, period. Starting with a prepositional phrase. Capital, every morning after I wake up, comma, and because the subject I is there and wake the predicate, that's not just an introductory phrase, that's called a dependent clause. So you separate it from a comma. The when you do something, every morning, when, after I wake up, when, I eat 3 delicious waffles, period. Or you can start with the other when, capital, after I wake up, when, every morning, when, comma, dependent clause, here comes the independent clause, capital I eat 3 delicious waffles, period. So that's how I would teach sentence writing across grades. It depends on their age or their ability. For those of you who are in swag, I want to show you another one. This is on page 107 of the binder. It's the capitalization rules of the first word in a sentence, which we're going over now, and the pronoun I, kind of like what they say, killing two birds with one stone. So what I want to show you here on numbers 1 through 9 is the same concept of around the words in 80 ways, but playing deal with it or let's roll or take a number. So let me give you an example. Number 1 has the pronoun, they're all going to have the pronoun I, but the idea is to not be starting with I all the time. So I have a specific content about walking in the rain and doing it with my dog or my daughter. And I want you to notice that the first one has the first word with the pronoun I. The second one, the second word. The third one, third. Fourth, the fourth word is I. The fifth word is I. All the way down to number 9, where the ninth word is I. And then because of the idea of playing deal with it, let's roll or take a number, I have a sentence with 5 words, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So if you think about that, pre-K and kinder would be able to handle something of this length. Kinder and first, first and second, second and third, third and fourth, fourth and fifth graders and sixth graders, sixth and seventh, seventh and eighth, and eighth and ninth graders. And so the idea is teaching kids how to do what I call sentence CPR, adding some words. And so notice that I circled all the capital I's, putting I in a different place on the sentence, and I underlined the sentence in yellow to make sure I checked for subject verb agreement. I circled the ending punctuation in red. So the only thing that I would want to do here, if you're teaching sentence writing across grades, is have a green crayon where you circle the first word only. I, once, kanea, my, very, last, late, very, and after. Notice that I only started with the same word 2 times in the entire 9-sentence example. So, green for go, circle the first word. Yellow for slow, check for subject verb agreement. And red for whoa, have a stop sign at the end of your sentence. So, as you can see, it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 words. Let me show you the content. I'm going to verbalize the capitalization and the punctuation. Since you can't see me, you'll be hearing me verbalize the capitalization and punctuation. Number 1 with 5 words. Capital. I walked in the rain, period. Subject is I. The pronoun I. Number 2, 6 words. Capital. Once I walked in the rain, period. So one time in my life I did that. Capital once, capital I walked in the rain. Don't forget to capitalize I each time that you see it. I want you to say capital or to pretend to put on a cap so you can remember that it's always capitalized, because we have students in middle school and even high school still writing the pronoun I in lowercase. So I want to remind you that a previous video I showed you that at Walmart you can actually buy a little ball in the birthday party section that has an eyeball inside, and so every time I is by itself, you're always going to capitalize it. 3, third word, I, 7 words altogether. Capital Kanea and capital I walked in the rain, period. Number 4, fourth word is I, 8 words total. Capital my dog and capital I walked in the rain, period. Number 5, fifth word is I, and 9 words altogether. Capital. Very early this morning, comma. Very early this morning. That's a when. And since there's no subject and predicate in this little phrase, it's called an introductory phrase. And there's an unwritten rule that says whenever there's 4 words or more, you tend to usually put a comma. If you just say, like this one that's next, last night is an introductory phrase. Since it only has 2 words, the comma there is optional because you don't have a subject. It's not a dependent clause, it's just an introductory phrase saying when you did something. Okay? So hopefully that'll be something that sinks in with your students because it's tested sometimes in short phrases without the subject and predicate. The comma is not always there and it doesn't have to be. So capital very early this morning, comma, capital I walked in the rain, period. And so as you see there, this is my rough draft. I want to make sure I always do my go green, slow yellow, and red, whoa, stop. Number 6, the 6th word is I, 10 total words. Capital last night, my dog and I, capital I, walked in the rain, period. And I want you to notice that after each period, I drew a little red line to remind myself that if I have another sentence, I'm going to push space, space for a computer entry so that I won't be putting my sentences too close together. Number 7, the 7th word is I, 11 words altogether. Capital late last night, comma, so it's an optional comma, being that it's less than 4 words. I went ahead and put it. So notice that when you have a punctuation, it gets its own space on the graph, then put a space, then the next letter of the next word. My dog and capital I walked in the rain, period. Number 8. The 8th word is I, 12 words altogether. Capital very late last night, comma, 4 words or more, just saying when twice. My dog and capital I walked in the rain, period. And the last one, number 9, the 9th word is I and has 13 total words. So you would be getting king, which a 10 on a card is 10 words. A jack could be 11. A queen could be 12. So this could be a jack. This would be a queen. This would be a king. And then if you get a joker, it's wild. You can make whatever you want. And you got to tell the student a range to stay with depending on his or her ability level. So number 9, the 9th word is capital I, and it has 13 words altogether. The king, or I would roll 3 dice to be able to get a 13 in some combination. You could roll a 12 with 2 dice, but it's not very common. So if you're getting students in middle school and high school, you might want to be rolling 3 dice. So they would have to have compound, complex sentences that are a little bit more well developed. Last sentence, here we go. Capital. After capital I ate dinner yesterday. So that one does have the subject and the predicate. So it does definitely need a comma. So it's a dependent clause followed by a comma and an independent clause. My dog and capital I walked in the rain, period, space, space. So there you have it. I hope that you'll think seriously about having your kids who struggle with penmanship start the year by using one of these composition graph notebooks, because if a student writes a response on the open-ended, which will be coming up starting next school year, not this coming school year, but the following, And for ninth and 10th graders, if the essay is indecipherable or illegible, your students can get a 0. So this was sentence writing across grades, but I was trying to also make sure we learned the capitalization rule of first word in a sentence by uh, writing sentences of different lengths, because I'm working with lots of different grade levels with you guys, and the pronoun I starting in different places in the sentence. So please do me a favor and share or tag somebody uh, in that if you liked this video or thought it was helpful. For those of you who haven't purchased the swag or editing webinar or revising, there's still plenty of time to do that, because all the videos are separate and you can watch them on your own time frame and when it's convenient for you throughout the rest of your summer vacation. Um, for those of you who are wanting to do the editing, like I mentioned, we're going to go over 25 different capitalization rules. A lot of them are going to be coming inside the proper nouns. We're going to learn all the different proper nouns. So that one is $50. The swag is $10, and the revising, combining reading with revising, is $12.50. Make sure you go to my webpage or message me and I can send you the link. You guys have a great day and take care.